How do guys? Bit of a different video. This one is a massive one. Alex from Warploque Miniatures does a game system called Arcworld. You will have heard me talk about his stuff before because I absolutely love it. They are sponsoring this video as well. This is a big job. All right, guys. He asked me to do one of their models, and when he sent me it, I was like, it's an awesome model. It'd make a nice video, but can you cut it up for me and make it as big as possible for printing on these larger format consumer printers? And he said, awesome. So he's gone away, he's done it, supported it all for me. At the same time, Uniz reached out and said, can we send you a printer? And as always, I'll just say yeah, and I'll use them in videos. Told them what I was working on, and they've sent me two and all the resin. So thanks for that. But anyway, guys, let's get some test prints set off of some of Alex's models so we know that they all print to the resin and we're getting the best quality we can. And then let's get to about 150 hours worth of printing, maybe 100 hours possibly. I don't really know, there's a lot to do. So anyway, let's get cracking. Now, printing something this big, people normally print on FDM printers. If you're interested in FDM printing, check out Oliver from Broadsword Wargaming's video after this. But the problem I have with FDM, especially for something like a dragon or anything that you're going to actually play with, the layer lines get to me. So printing large models on a resin printer really appeals to me. However, I've never done anything this big before, and I'm a bit worried, especially because I'm using printers that I've never used before, resin that I've not used before, and I've never printed STLs from Alex's company before either. So I get to familiarise myself with the printers. Levelling them, it's one of the easiest levelling experiences I've had with any of the 3D printers. It literally talks you through it on the screen of the printer, which is a nice touch. Now, when I'm using new printers, I like to do a test print. Now, because I'm going to be using all of the print bed, I thought what would be nice would be to print some little halflings that Warploque offer, but I'll print them on the far extremities and in the centre to see if there's any difference in quality on the further extremities of the build plate. After cleaning them, I was very surprised, not only with the quality of the printer, the resin, but the little sculpts that Warploque Miniature has designed. They're pretty cute. This is the one from the centre, and this is the one from the very far edge. Now, printing large models on a resin printer is very different to printing something this small. There's so many different parameters that can go wrong with the lift height, which can tear the model or peel it off the supports while it's printing. The first one did fail, however all I had to do was lower the lift speed, the exposure was fine, and with this resin I managed to get the exposure down to 2.8 seconds, which is relatively quick, and the prints came off very clean. I'm very happy with the resin, the printer, and I'm also very surprised by the model itself because it's not actually supposed to be this big. And this is what I like about Alex's company, Warploque Miniatures. If you don't own a 3D printer, it doesn't matter. They offer a range of metals, they offer a range of resins, they offer some gorgeous large models, pretty dragons, and some awesome giants and trolls. Now, if you do have a 3D printer, you can try Alex's game for absolutely nothing. There's free rules on a PDF, and also a small amount of models that you can try for free to try the game and get into the system. So if you'd like to try that, all the links to that are below. Also, if you are into 3D printing, there's the Patreon. The Patreon doesn't just offer 28, 32mm models, it also offers a full range of 10mm models. So if you're lovers of War Master, or you want to play Kings of War smaller scale like I do, Alex makes some lovely sculpts, not only in 3D, but in actual forms that you can purchase. So check it out, guys. It's a small family-run business, and it's one of the companies that I really do like, especially with them being pretty local. But anyway, guys, let's go on with this beast of a print. Now, the big body parts are the bit that I was very nervous of. because there was extremely long prints. I think there was about 26 to 28 hours, some of them. And printing both body parts was a shock to come into, to find that they'd both printed off perfectly. Now, looking back at these on camera, it doesn't look that impressive, but in person, they're just massive. One of these parts of the model was bigger than anything I've ever painted myself before. And to think this is only a small section of the dragon, it started getting me thinking, and I found it a bit almost humorous. I don't even know why I'm laughing. It's huge. It don't fit. I'm gonna have to strip it. Now, cleaning it and stripping it off of all its supports with just some hot water in a big container, so I could do this simply. My biggest thoughts was, how am I gonna cure it? Now, none of the individual parts would fit in my curing station, so I thought I'll assemble it first while it's uncured, so it'll save on shrinking and everything else. So I sanded it down, I made it so that everything fit quite nicely. It was a tight fit, you could push it together, but I didn't want to force anything and break anything. So I just sanded things down so it was a nice snuggish fit, shall we call it. And to glue that together, I used epoxy on the pegs because there was very strong big pegs, and then using super glue and activator just to stick things together so it'd hold it in place. I'm using 2-ton epoxy, which might be a little bit overkill, but it does have a longer curing time, so that's why I've used the super glue, so I don't have to hold things for half an hour at a time. I can just simply put some on in areas and then put a dot of super glue, push it together, activate it, and that should hold it in place while the epoxy cures. It is quite a heavy model, about 1.5 kilos to just shy of 2 kilos ish. So I wanted to make sure that it was glued and held together with an epoxy, just in case when I'm carrying it around or painting it, for example. Now, when I was starting to put these wings on, I really started to understand the sheer size of this model. And I was just thinking, how the hell am I going to cure this? So this will have to do as my UV curer. I don't think any manufacturer that does a consumer this big. But yeah, I'll see you in a few hours. So as you can see, for a large resin print, it's assembled rather well. It does need some filling, but it's only ever so slight, and this could have been cured if I was to slow the lift speed down even more. So if I was to do something this size again, I'd print it pretty slow, to be fair. So I got Wayne just to fill in the few gaps on the model, and he even put some personalised things on there, like some extra carapace and an extra long tongue. Now, Josh from the Pickle Jar brought over the same dragon, however he's brought over the normal size, just for you guys to see how much it's actually been blown up. It's like 3 times bigger. Now, onto painting. Right, so for painting a big model like this, we're going to use a lot of paint. So I bought these 12 colours from Amazon. It were £13 for 12 pots of airbrush paint. I have tried them out at home because they're a bit dubious, and you get 30mm pots, and they're not that bad, as in I don't mind using them, and they're alright for painting on miniatures straight out of the pot. So I'm going to use these on the dragon just because they were cheap. If anybody is interested, they are in the links below. And I'm going to be using my new airbrush from Sparmax, which is the GP850. It's not really an airbrush, it's more of an air gun, but something this big needs something pretty big. So let's get cracking. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I was very nervous about this part. I've never painted anything this big, and to be honest, painting something this big is a completely different kettle of fish to painting something like a miniature. And I've actually been a lot more happier painting the normal size one, but it's a challenge. I thought I'll have a good go at it. So I go in with the airbrush, just putting down a base coat of brown because I'm going to have a red dragon. And what I've started doing was highlighting with khakis, white and cream, just to start highlighting it up so I can airbrush some contrast paints on there. I'm really starting to like contrast paints in the airbrush just because they do a lot of the work for you. However, I think I need to be less subtle with the base coating. It is something I do need to practice and maybe going for stronger, harsher highlights, because a lot of the contrast paints, especially through the airbrush, do shade quite well on their own just by layering it up. So I think next time if I was to do anything like this, I would definitely do a far stronger base coat. However, this was quite therapeutic. I felt like I was getting somewhere quite quickly because using the airbrush I was pretty tidy with it, but using more contrast like skeleton horde and things just to take the white down from the wings and add a bit more shading in the recesses where I'd probably gone a bit too light with the base colouring. It was quite an enjoyable experience, and the anxiety of painting something this big did come off a little bit. And when I started to just tidy up where I'd slipped with the airbrush and started getting the base coats down, like the black of the carapace and the horns, and painting the face and things, it started to come together and I was feeling a bit more confident about it. And when I feel more confident about things, I tend to start going a little bit overboard. However, this did work in my favour. I mixed up some oil washers, a black and a brown, and I just started throwing the blacks and the browns all around the scales and just got it on there so it adds a little bit more contrast, more than what the actual contrast paint did. And when that were all dry and I wiped it all off, I was pleasantly surprised that it had worked. Now for the carapace, the black did look quite cool, but I thought I'll dry brush a bit of grey over that. And then I'd add a bit of purple, just for a bit of colour and a bit of an accent, and wash it down, and that made all the difference to the model. Now, I have learnt something, and what I've learnt is I completely need to turn everything upside down that I've learnt about painting. If I was to do this again, I'd do it completely different. I think I'd do it mainly with all the airbrush, but I'd use a smaller airbrush, and I'd go in there and I'd paint individual scales. I'd go pretty much over the top. However, I don't think I'd have the cameras recording to do that. I'd probably spend weeks painting this. However, I am really happy that I've challenged myself. I've learnt something. I am very happy that I've got it and it's going to look pretty cool on a shelf. I might even make a base for it one day. But for all intents and purposes, I've learnt something. Whether that be in 3D printing, whether that be in painting. It's just been a not so little fun project. And I love this model, and to be all honest, I'm going to print it off smaller because I feel the smaller one I'll paint a lot nicer than this. But if you're a better painter than me, and you're somebody that's willing to put the time in to make this look good, please tag me on Instagram when you print this and paint this. It'll be great to see what some of you good painters out there can do because it is such an epic model. But I've enjoyed myself, and that's what matters. So guys, I've really enjoyed this. If anybody wants to have a go at this model themselves, Alex has put it on my mini factory where you can download it and have a go at printing it yourself. It's a lot of fun, guys, but make sure you've got plenty of time to one side to do it because it took about 150 hours. One thing I do like about Alex, guys, is not just an STL file company. So if you're somebody that likes the look of these but you don't have a resin printer, don't worry, check the links. He's got metals, he's got resins, even got his own game system called Arc World. I love Alex's stuff. I got into him about 5 years ago, and ever since then I've been hooked, and it's nice that we're now working together on something as epic as this. If you want to know about the printers and stuff like that, all the links to them are below. I've enjoyed using the Uniz printer. I was a bit nervous about using a printer and files that I've never used before, but it's been quite stress-free apart from the time aspect. But I'm quite happy with the printers and the fact that the print sharp corner to corner, the resin's been very reliable for me. I have seen people have mixed results. However, every bottle that I've had so far has been bang on. so I can't report anything negative. I haven't been sponsored, but I have been sent everything that I've printed off in this video for free, alright guys? So just so you know that, but other than that, Uniz, great printers, and I think they're on offer at the moment. I'll put links below if I can find them. But anyway guys, thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. If you want to help me out any other way, obviously use all the links, but you can use my shop. And remember guys, you can buy Geekgaming Scenics all around the world in your local shops as well. Support them first. So I'll see you for another video, hopefully in a couple of weeks, because I've got some board building to do. But I'll catch you then. Love, love, love.